Hello, and thanks for joining Arctic IT for Portal Technology for Tribes. Today's webinar focuses on how Portal Technology offers a secure and convenient way to communicate with tribal members and provide services safely by reducing in-office visits. Presenting today is Bryan Schmidt, Pre-Sales Solution Architect at Arctic IT. After a brief presentation, Bryan will be diving into an interactive demo of the Tribal Platform's portal. I know he's very excited to show you how your tribal members will enjoy this awesome end user experience. We also want to recognize Bryan for the hard work he put into debut features that haven't been created for tribes up until now. Be sure to stick around for the demo, folks, because it'll be worth the wait. With that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Bryan.
Thank you, Joanne. Welcome, everyone. I appreciate taking time out of your busy week to attend this webinar. Hopefully, this will be enlightening for you. This is a repeat from the presentation that we did on this topic about a couple weeks ago for TribalNet, and we want to use this as an opportunity to help you learn about some technology that's available for you and your tribes to be able to connect and improve the community engagement with your members. So with that, we will begin our slide presentation. So for the agenda for today, we want to briefly walk through, who we are, who is Arctic IT, talk through a few of the challenges that tribes face with their current technology and their current applications that they use, discuss briefly the modern solution and the platform in which we built this portal technology, and then we'll step in and walk you through a solution demonstration of how this could look for your tribal members and community members to be able to interact and work with your tribal government staff in a more efficient way. So a little bit about Arctic IT. We've been working in the tribal community for about 15 years, maybe even a little more than that. We've got client experience with over 72 different tribes, at tribal casinos and tribal governments, and we've got deep roots in Indian country and working with Microsoft as a gold partner. We've built a strong relationship with many tribes across the United States and Alaska. We are a native-owned organization. Doyan Limited is our parent company, so we understand your business needs and put a lot of our focus day to day in helping tribes improve their business processes. So let's talk about some of the challenges that many tribes, and of the tribes in the past that we've worked with, we see some of the same patterns of situations and issues. That you have different departments within the tribal government. You have siloed business applications within each of those departments, and what that means is they each have their own database of information, and they manage their lists of who they're providing services to, but rarely do those systems communicate or talk to each other, so that when a tribal member has to come in to receive services from one department, they fill out an application. And they get frustrated that I have to provide my name and address and all this information, and then literally walk next door to another department and have to fill out another application form with the exact same information. So that's one of the challenges in that tribal members are frustrated because each of these departments have their own systems, and they don't share that information, and it makes it more difficult for the end user, for the community member. And what that does is it creates duplicate data, and not only duplicate data, but then you get out-of-date information. So you have a tribal member that comes in and updates an address, maybe for a clinic visit or something like that. But when it comes time to reissue a new tribal ID card or get a new one, they have to go and update that address again, so that that address information isn't shared across the systems, and it creates inefficiencies for the ways that you work with your community members. So that's a significant issue. And then insufficient reporting. The rationale there is whenever I need to answer a question for a tribal council member, such as, hey, what are all the services that are being consumed by our tribal members, and get a full picture of here's an individual and all the services that they are utilizing it's really difficult to pull that information together. It takes a lot of manual effort and pulling information from all these disparate systems to capture that full 360 view. So that creates a barrier, not impossible, it's just a barrier for being able to report that to your leadership team. Plus, obviously, that's something becoming more common. There are security issues with the data that you have on site. Each of these siloed systems typically have different business applications, and they have their own security model for how they secure the data and the processes around that. And as we've seen recently, many tribes have been hit with ransom attacks, and it's caused significant issues. And that's why we're seeing this trend across a tribal government across the United States to say, okay, we need to start modernizing our business applications so that we can provide better security to our data and make sure that we're not being compromised should a ransom attack happen. So security is another big reason why some of these challenges, and they're looking at improving the accessibility for current technology. And on top of that, we've got some new operational issues, including COVID. COVID now causes office closures, and so therefore, if I'm a community member and I need to come in and receive services, it's now more difficult for them to know when the office is open. Do I have to set up an appointment? Can I come in and see a person, or do I have to do this remotely? So it's a difficult situation for the tribal member to receive those services, or for you to be able to extend services to those people that need it because of the current situation that we're in with COVID. Plus, being able to allow community and tribal members that live in other cities or areas to be able to interact with tribal staff. That distance becomes a barrier. They can, interact with a phone call, but yet it's a scenario where it causes frustration, and it's limited by the office being open, and so therefore it's not as convenient for those members. Plus, something like this is changing, just changing the process, because the way that many tribes work, they've used these applications the way they've been using them for maybe decades, and retraining your staff to start learning new processes, new ways of using technology can be scary for them, and they resist those changes. So that poses a challenge for operational improvement and embracing new technology. And today, that's another issue, is that there is minimal cross-department interaction. Sometimes the enrollment department doesn't spend a lot of time sharing information or exchanging information with some of the other departments in your tribal government, and that can pose barriers, especially when certain key information should be shared, but that relationship isn't there, so it causes delays in those services being provided to the community members. Plus, tribal leadership. This is another area that we continue to try and strive, and that's a part of the purpose behind this webinar, is to help leadership become more aware of new technologies and new capabilities that maybe even didn't exist 6 months, a year ago, because the technology landscape is changing constantly. And there are new and better ways for tribal governments to engage and work with their members. So how can we utilize that technology? So education is a big aspect to make sure that the leadership within the tribal governments have the opportunity to see the technology that is available, and then be able to decide if that makes sense for their community and their tribal government to embrace that technology. So now let's talk a little bit about the modern solution of why we've selected this platform. Arctic IT is a Microsoft Gold partner, and we've used Dynamics 365 as a modern platform that's being used across tens of thousands of companies across the United States and the world, actually, to provide really great customer relationship management services for lots of different business scenarios. And you'll see that as part of the wheel here, all the different aspects of sales, customer service, marketing, all of finance, all these business applications are integrated onto the Dynamics 365 platform. And one thing that's beneficial with this is that we could take pieces of those that make sense for tribal governments and leverage that investment that Microsoft has made into this platform and build the unique functionality on top of this that are specific to tribal governments, so that you can replace those legacy business applications that you that have been using for some period of time, and maybe it needs to be replaced. And Dynamics 365 becomes that place for us to be able to support that capability to replace that legacy technology. So you'll see some of the example applications there, customer service and field service. Those are two common pieces that we use in tribal governments, but we also help them replace the finance system inside so they can properly manage the finances and streamline business processes within the tribal government. So those are two key areas. And then the custom business applications, we do that very, very frequently, work with tribes to replace those applications, all built on a common data model. So you'll see in the next example why that common data model makes so much sense. So now on top of Dynamics 365, we provide what we call tribal platforms. This is a solution that dovetails into the overall Dynamics 365 environment and provides what we call a member master database. And what we mean by that is it provides that central collection of all the key demographics and services and applications and data that you want to relate to an individual. So for example, their name, address, all their core information, their emergency contacts, all that detail about the individual that today is typically stored in your enrollment system. You can capture that as part of this member master database, but be able to carefully control the visibility of that information to other departments within your tribal government. So for example, you might have the Family and Child Services. They can see that this individual is a tribal member. They can see the family, the child member, or the children in the family, and then they can actually see which households those individuals are living in. And if changes need to be made in that family structure or the house situation, Family Services may be given the permissions to be able to make those changes, and then that can flow into the member master database with approval, and then that would then be visible for all the other departments to be able to reference. So it's more real-time updates of their member data, and not only address, but all the other key demographics that you want to be able to manage for your community members. So the relationships and the way that each of those departments work together and providing those full sets of services for applications and program participation, and how they're using all the different programs in each of these departments is a really important aspect, and the design behind this. But that is also dependent on the security. So that's another reason why we've selected Dynamics 365 as a platform, is because it provides that strong role-based security. So you can at a granular level define the visibility and accessibility of data to only the people within the tribal government that you provide permissions. So that's a really strong capability that makes sure that the data is private, is kept private and kept confidential, but yet information that should be shared can be shared. So that, but that's based on the policies and the rules that you have within your tribal government. So then once you have this member master database, you have some really great capabilities to apply business rules and workflows and reporting and analytics, so that you can provide some really great reporting to your tribal government and to the tribal council on a regular basis. And that is one of the key reasons why, you know, we're seeing this movement from multiple governments to adopting this technology going forward. And of course, all of this wouldn't be possible if we didn't have, you know, Microsoft that we stand behind in terms of our overall security capability. This is something that, you know, most tribal governments don't have this capability. They don't have the Security Cyber Defense Operations Center that with that many security professionals that their job every single day is to protect the data. And that's why, we've leveraged this platform and technology, because we're standing on the backs of all these security professionals that are protecting the data and protecting your data in a cloud environment, so that your data is protected, it's kept private, and it manages and maintains your data sovereignty. That is a really key element with this cloud-hosted environment, is that we still can maintain your data sovereignty with the policies and procedures that we put in place with this platform. And as you can see, all the different compliance offerings that Microsoft provides to us, we've not run into a scenario working with the tribal government that we won't be able to meet their compliance requirements so that they presented to us. So this is another big reason why the platform is so important to us. So with that, I'm going to focus a little bit more on the portal technology. So now, getting a little bit into the meat of the whole presentation. So the Tribal Platforms portal is a way, it's a new capability that's being introduced now for our tribal governments to be able to expose this capability for your community members to access their information, submit applications on any device, anytime, anywhere. So this portal is available from a mobile phone. It can be accessible from a tablet or a laptop, only through your browser. That's really the only requirement that they would need. So whatever device they're using, they can access it through their web browser. So it's a responsive application that's easy to use, and it provides them a secure mechanism to have access to not only update their information, but submit requests for services to the tribal government, so that they can be, process those requests as quickly as possible by the government staff. So that's a really important aspect of being able to engage with not only those people that can't come into the office, or they might be located somewhere else in the country, but now you can expose that as if they're literally next door, and be able to engage those individuals. And obviously, the last key point to this is that being able to customize the portal to your unique needs and services. The portal technology that we're showing you here today is a demonstration of an example of an out-of-the-box portal that we would provide to a tribal government, but yet it's the content, the layout, the colors and so forth are easily customizable, so that you can apply different graphics and different elements that make it specific to your needs, as well as listing the different programs that matter to you. It's really easy to adjust those portal programs to submit those kinds of requests for services. So we'll see that in the demonstration, so you can get an idea of how that would work. All right, so with that, we will switch into the demo. I will pull up this browser right here. So here we are. So you'll notice it looks almost identical to the screenshot that we had there. The one thing I'll show you here is that I'm just going to shrink this screen so that you can see that, if I've got a smaller screen, it's responsive to the size of the screen that I have. So if I've got a medium-sized desktop, I can scroll up and down the information here. But let's say I've got this information on a mobile device, so I could shrink this page up to a small screen that would simulate a mobile phone, for example. Now you can see that it took the graphic is cut off, but all the information is now in a linear or a horizontal view instead of a horizontal and a vertical, so that it is responsive to your the size of the screen, and it expands the image and the graphics to the available space. So that's a really great capability that Microsoft has built into the application, and it does not require any specific technology on the end user's part on their mobile device or their tablet. They can access this application from anywhere they are. So they can also use their browser. So this supports any browser that they would want to use, whether it's Safari, whether it's a Edge browser, or if it's a Chrome, Google Chrome browser. So they can utilize anything they want. First thing that they would have to do is sign in. So as part of the registration process, we actually marry up their sign-in process and attach their login. So they would submit their name, tribal ID, maybe their email address, some key information that would be then used to match up the person that's in the enrollment system to this individual. And the Dynamics 365 platform actually utilizes a technology called Azure B2C, which is called Business to Consumer. And what that is it provides a mechanism for you as a tribal government to say, okay, I want you to be able to manage your own account and authentication mechanism. So if they've got a social account, such as a Google Live account or a Microsoft account, or they can have a Facebook account, you can set up a mechanism for them to, okay, I want to supply a Microsoft account. It takes you out to that sign-in page so that they can provide their Microsoft sign-in account. And that could be, let's say if they have a Hotmail or an Outlook account, or if they have a Gmail account, they can log in with that Gmail account right here. So now you're taking out you're taking the authentication of the individual and putting the responsibility in their hands to make sure that they're managing their username and password for the account, so that you don't have your IT team managing that. In this scenario, though, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simulate the basic login. And so this is also an option, not recommended for most, but for this demo environment, that's the way we've got this configured. So what we do is now you can see that I'm logged in as Alicia Wilson, and after I'm logged in, I can, for example, take a look at my profile information. So now what it's doing is it's actually looking up my record, because when as part of the registration process, it attached Alicia's account to her record inside the Dynamics 365 Tribal Platform system, so that I can see all of my personal information, and now I can begin to start making changes to that. So I can come back here and I want to update my member profile. So I can click on these icons, and these icons here are just intended to be placeholders. Those can be replaced with other programs or tasks that you would want them to be able to provide or edit on the home page. So for example, in this scenario, they might be able to see that, hey, my current profile is I am a member. My effectivity date of that membership was this date, and my current ID. So this shows that the information is here, but you'll notice that I can't edit anything. It's all read-only. So that's a security profile that I can use the portal as a mechanism to say, I can either allow the individual to edit certain information, or I can make it available to them in a read-only fashion, or I can allow them to actually create new records. So there's 3 different options that would become available to you. So this another example of I can see that, okay, I've got my address history. So I can see that this is my primary address, my mailing address, and these are maybe my previous address. So I can use this as a way. I'm going to view this and update that information and create a new excuse me, create a new change request for that. So that's one option that would become available to me. So it would default my current information, and now I could say, all right, I want to type in a new address over here, and I can type in the city. I'm going to Sue Gardner, and I can see that new city, state. I can look up values. And again, this is because the data is already in the back office system. Let's see. Oh, I typed the wrong one. I'll just use as an example. There we are, right here. There we are. So now I can submit this information. So I'm saying, okay, this is my new address that I want to be able to, I'm moving at the end of the month. Okay. So now I can click submit. Now, one thing you'll notice here is it's actually going to submit that as a record. And now that change request gets saved in the back office system that becomes available to the enrollment staff to be able to review. And then if you need to supply proof of documentation that, let's say, for example, you require them to provide a utility bill or something that prove that they actually live there, you can actually enable that capability to require attached documentation for that scenario. So you can, and again, these are examples of the kinds of information that we can expose to the member. You could allow them to edit and update their who is their primary medical facility, who's their primary doctor, who's their primary insurance provider, and this information could be useful for the clinic, the local tribal clinic, or the Family and Child Services team. But there's a way that even though the tribal member can see this information, the enrollment people would not be able to see this medical information, but the Family Services team would be able to see that. So there's great security in the way that information is segregated in the back office. So only the people that have access to that information can do that. And let's talk briefly about some of the services. So this is a place where they would actually come in, and you can use this as creating a page to explain some of the services you make available as a tribal government. You can put some narrative in here. You can have polls. Again, this is just an example of how this portal page could look, and you'll see throughout this demonstration that there's many different page layout types. So it allows us great flexibility to make this make the portal fit exactly the way you want it to work for your members. So I can use this as a mechanism to say, okay, I want to see all of the service requests that I have submitted in the past. So you can see here that there was an in-process service request. I can see that it's the status is in process, and I can click on that and maybe get an update on the information that the caseworker was assigned to this, and maybe I can interact with that caseworker to share information as that case is going on. I could also use this as a way to create new requests, right? So I can create this generic, I need depression counseling, and I can basically provide a list of the programs that would be available. So basically, if I'm saying I need counseling services, I might want to pick this family and individual counseling like this, and I can go this route, and it's like COVID has affected me and I need counseling assistance. And if you need, or if as part of this you want to supply or require some additional documentation, you can request that, and then they can go in and submit that information. And that service request then shows up on our dashboard for one of your tribal government staff people that Alicia has submitted this, and she might be submitting this request in the middle of the night. She might be doing this some other time when they might not see this, so they can take action with that right away in the morning. You can create, also, and as another example, you can create pages that look like this, that's flow really nicely, put graphics and descriptions of the information that you would want to present to the end user. You can have this notion of have the same kind of request and additional text. So it's just a placeholder to show you how this could work, and then you can create these kinds of pages for your different programs and services that your tribal government would want to expose to your members. And of course, you can always have the About Us or have other static pages like this that can just be presenting information. So I've had a number of requests around, can you add knowledge articles or links to content and documents that people could open up or links out to other web resources. Absolutely, these pages are highly configurable, easy for you. You don't need a consultant to make these changes. You can actually edit this content and change it, and use your native language. There's even the capability to type your native language on these translation capable portal. So that is definitely a possibility within the portal environment.
Hey, Bryan, we had a quick question that came in that
Sure.
said, what does the data entry page look like on a mobile phone?
Oh, sure. So let's go to an example of a mental health, and we'll take that.
Okay.
And we'll shrink
And
that
then
down.
also,
So
can you embed videos from Vimeo or YouTube on these customizational pages?
Yep, absolutely. So that's actually a scenario that we have done. I haven't done it here, but yes, you could actually create what's called a frame inside one of these pages. And in that frame, as soon as that page loads, it can actually start that video or have a link out to that video. So if you host the video out on some other site, such as YouTube or Vimeo, then you can actually provide that link, paste it onto that page, and then it becomes available through that portal page. So absolutely, that capability is there.
Excellent, thank you.
So this is an example. So you see that the text essentially reformats, right? So that second column goes to the bottom, and the information that I would want to see would get, so you'll see that it can only go so small, but it's intended to shrink this page so that it's accessible on a mobile device. So you'll see the navigation, for example, it changes from a drop down on the top to this kind of what we call a hamburger icon on the top corner. So that yes, this page does adjust dynamically to the size of the screen. And even if I'm on like a tablet format like this, it might still shrink the text down a bit, but it still is very accessible. Good question. So the last thing I wanted to briefly touch on is this notion of having the automated support. So you'll notice here that, and this is an optional feature that comes with the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Power Platform. It's called a virtual agent. So what you can actually do is configure this as a chat that, the way I've set this up is I trigger it on a few key phrases. So I could say that I'm depressed, and so that depression text would trigger a certain path through the topics that I've set up within the automatic virtual agent, and it allows the system to be able to drive the questioning and help the individual through the automated support to get them to the services that they might need. So for example, I'm happy to connect you, and again, these are all easily configured responses, and so I'm saying, hey, I need counseling. What kind of counseling services are you interested in? So I need mental health. So you can have this automated response and try and drive the individual down through your tree of most commonly asked questions. And then if they can answer the question, then it can actually trigger an action for them to call a human agent, either through a phone or some other mechanism, or generate an email for somebody in your staff to be able to respond. But let's use this. In this example, I'll say she's asking for my full name and what my number is. So I'm just going to go, oops. So what this could do is the automated agent collected the core information that they needed, and now it could actually automatically in the background create that service request for the individual. So if they couldn't, or they're struggling to work with the system, this automated virtual agent could help them create that service request and pass that through the back system. At least the basics of the information that would be needed. So you can use this as a mechanism to support that ability that 24/7, you can have somebody that, even though it may be a chat virtual agent like this, but at least they feel like they're talking to someone, right? And then I can say yes, and then I can rate this experience so you can see how people are responding, if they like that or not. Nope, no thanks. So then that basically ends the chat session. So this is a great capability that would be available to you through the portal. And this is just the beginning. There's other things such as dashboards. You can provide interactive data charts through a tool called Power BI, and you could embed those right onto the portal pages. There's so much more capability that's being delivered from Microsoft, and we're just scratching the surface on how we can make that information available to tribal governments and tribal staff. So that was the majority of my presentation. I know we're ending a little bit early, but I wanted to open it up and see if there were any questions. Any questions that anyone had, and if before we move on?
We'll give it a few minutes. Thanks. That was a great presentation.
Thank you. So yeah, if you have any questions, just go ahead and type the question in the chat session. And while we're waiting there, so what can you do now? So how can you get started? So let's look at this from the standpoint of what can you do? The number one, you're attending this webinar, so you're taking the time out of your day to actually educate yourself and some of the next great capabilities that are out there. So I applaud you for taking that time. The next step is for you to start educating some of your leadership on some of these capabilities that are available to you, and maybe start working with either your department staff or other department staff to say, hey, what can we do to extend and provide this capability to our members? Because we're definitely seeing some benefits to our community members in the tribal governments that are using this technology to actually improve their engagement and keep people healthy during these challenging times that we're in right now. So plus, Arctic IT is here to be a partner that's working with you, helping your government processes streamline and improve. That's what we do. So we're not in this just to provide a technology to help you, to say, just so we can say that there's another government organization that's using it. We're there to be your partner and work with you and help you deliver better services in the future using technology. And that's part of our core mission.
We did have a question that came in. How long does a typical implementation take?
So typically for the portal, because it's a cloud-only application, we typically work with a tribal government to look at migrating some of their enrollment data or getting something like this connected to your enrollment system. So it takes a couple months typically to get that data connected, to get all the processes pulled together, and then work through that the business processes. It's really about transforming the way that your enrollment team and your other departments work together. So making sure that all the policies that you have in place are followed within the core business application or tribal platforms, and then rolling out the portal is something where we'll help you train your staff on how this would work, and then work with you to provide the appropriate training materials for your community members so they can learn how to use this portal as well to engage. So that's an important step, is not only for your staff but also for external users to be able to utilize the portal. But I would plan anywhere from let's say anywhere from 3 to 6 months would be that realistic time frame.
Great.
Any other questions?
Nope, no other questions.
If not,
Nope.
I will thank you for attending the presentation today, and I appreciate you taking your time again out of your busy day. So I look forward to future webinars with you.
Great. Thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great day.